Hello, everyone. Today we have with us my very own colleague from the Department of Agricultural Economics at University of Nebraska-Lincoln, Cheryl Burkhart-Kriesel. Welcome, Cheryl, to this conversation. Thank you very much. I know you are very busy. You're zipping up and down the state from Lincoln to Scottsbluff and all over. So really appreciate spending some time talking with me and sharing your wisdom about all things extension.
Well, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, just to get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, including a fun fact?
Okay, sure. Most people don't realize that I talk when I introduce myself, I usually tell people that I wear two hats and basically those are my two jobs. So one is the extension job, the extension specialist in rural prosperity in Nebraska. And I've been doing that for many years. Maybe it's had different forms and shapes over time, but I've probably been doing it over 30 years
Wow.
basically. But at the same time, I've also been an active member of a farm business, an agribusiness. And so my husband and I are involved in a certified seed business. So basically, I work a double job, especially in the summer. And the fun fact would be is I really enjoy driving the combine at wheat harvest time and millet harvest time. And for the most part, that is my job. Um, my husband usually he manages the things that come in because we'll have multiple machines in the field, and
Yeah.
he makes sure the right variety gets into the right spot. But we have people that help us truck, and but I'm usually on our combine. So that's the fun fact.
And are you working on your other job, namely your UNL job, when you are on the combine, or is this just music playing?
No, so usually I would take 2 weeks off in the
Ah,
summertime.
okay.
I worked full time, but for about 7 to 10 years now, I've had a 3/4, a 9 month appointment. So my June, July, and August is off.
I
And so
see.
I am full time farm during the summer. And then in the fall and in the winter, I work the weekends doing all those other things.
Oh, absolutely. This very nicely segues into my next question, which is that, given that you have such extensive experience, not only in, agriculture, but also in university extension, what is the best part of your job?
So for me, the two jobs support each other and
Hmm.
complement each other a lot. And so when I look at the world through my farming eyes, I realize how important the community is. And when I look at especially in rural Nebraska, when I look at it from the extension side, I also realized how important the ag part of that is, and that large economic base of agriculture in all its different forms are to the state of Nebraska. So for me, the thing that I really like to do is to find sort of opportunities or gaps in things. And so basically, the work that I have done or kind of focused in on over time has really honed in on those. So, one, I live in the western part of the state, so we
Right.
actually do have quite a bit of tourism. Um, and basically, we're located between Denver and Rapid City. And so we have a lot of historical aspects to our terrain, as well as just really wonderful visual interest with the Oregon Trail and the Mormon Trail and Chimney Rock and all sorts of different things in between. We also have a lot of people come into our area for hunting and fishing. So tourism was a natural sort of special fit. And so over the years, I worked on a program called Red Carpet Service, which really helped small rural communities think about how they can do a better job of welcoming people into their community and really showcasing what there is in their community. So that was just a little niche, and that's been pretty successful over time. Done a lot of different versions of it, and it's morphed many times to change with technology and situations and all sorts of things like that. Another one that I've worked with was called marketing hometown America. And again, it's looking at small rural communities. How can they recruit and retain new residents?
Oh, yes.
Again, in our rural area, that was a huge need. And so
Hmm.
I worked with colleagues actually in the Great Plains who helped us put together a program. And then it's also being used in other locations. So it's a way for communities to plan and think about themselves um, in a new way through the eyes of new residents rather than thinking about their community as what they've seen for years and years and years. It's different when a new person comes in and sees resources and assets that maybe somebody who's lived there a long time
That's
just
right.
doesn't see them anymore. They just
That's
don't.
right.
So it's that finding those little niches and those opportunities for what I think are long-term value that really kind of get me charged up and excited.
This is so exciting. And for everyone listening to this conversation, I had no idea about these two projects that Cheryl had. So this is a learning experience for me as well. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Not a problem.
This is awesome. You've shared a little bit about, what kind of a person you are and how that helps you in your job. But along those lines, can you tell us about the things that you don't like about extension programming and have found creative ways to do to accomplish your goals?
So I'm not really fond of institutional paperwork. So, and there's plenty in a university system. And because I just plain get impatient with it. And just, I don't have a lot of tolerance. So, the other piece of that also is sometimes I get really impatient with technology changes when they don't go smoothly, or they say, oh, this will be so easy. And then you spend the next 2 days trying to find files and things like that. And Samadhi, that this is just kind of what happens on the institutional level. On the programming side, I think over time I've just kind of gotten used to some of the bumps in the road a little bit,
Uh-huh.
and some of those bumps can be you start out with one idea and you realize that you need to pivot a little bit to really meet the needs that you were expecting to do. So I kind of expect that along the way. So it's not so much of a big deal to me at this stage in my career. I've gotten used to it. I just know that it'll happen over time. But in the big broader sense, it's that impatience with institutional paperwork and technology changes that really drive me crazy. And I have to sometimes sit back and take a deep breath and say, "It'll be fine, Cheryl. You'll get through this. You'll get through this." I also try to partner, to be honest, with
Yeah.
people who maybe know where some of those shortcuts are or ways to get around things, and that really helps too.
Right, right, absolutely. Then moving on, you've already mentioned two of the projects that you built up. So my question is to you, how do you define professional impact? Our university cares a lot about impact. We have to file impact reports. And to me, who does not have an extension appointment, impact sometimes becomes very, very hard to, kind of think about, because all I'm doing is trying to, teach and, write papers. So
Sure.
how do you define impact?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I think early on in my career, I realized that um, there were certain things that need to happen at the institutional level that I just needed to document. And so, as best I could, and actually in the area of community development, it can be really hard to document impact
Mhm.
because the way we're set up is they want things yearly. And to be honest, in a community environment, they don't happen yearly. It might be a 3 year period of time before you really see change, maybe even longer than that. And to be honest, some of those things that create those impact. You can do as a faculty member, you can do everything right, but your community is a laboratory that changes. And
Right.
so if you have a major uh, incident in a community, like maybe your city manager leaves or the person that you work with change jobs, that can drastically change the impact of the programming or the things that you were working with that in the community. So there's a lot of things you don't have under your control.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so you so you try to document what you can control, and then sometimes um, you just have to be aware of opportunities and where there may be a way to really go further in a program or in a community than you thought was possible, and then run with it. And
Give
so,
an example.
well, okay, so here's another example where, and this is a fun one that just recently happened. Marilyn Schlake and I, a colleague, went to a conference in Australia, a community development conference. We roomed together. We never planned on going to similar sessions, but we happened to be in this one session together. And the gal was actually talking about the social capital phenomena for sale yards in Australia. And she got a funded project where she really tried to look at um, the opportunity of people coming together in that livestock sale arena sort of environment. What else happens beside the economic piece? And there was a lot of learning, a lot of social capital, a lot of things around that that she was able to lift up. So Marilyn and I thought, I wonder what this is like in Nebraska. And if they can do it in Australia, we sure should be able to do it in Nebraska with our beef cattle. So we applied for some grant funding, a pilot project, got funded. We did 4
Great.
locations in Nebraska. We had a great time doing it, and we also built a team that was had a lot of our beef, our animal science people involved, as well as some folks that were involved on a more of a 4-H or youth, as well as kind of a mental health wellness sort of piece. So we built a diverse team. We did some work that mirrored our colleague in Australia. She was a part of it. She was really thrilled that we would take it and run with it here in the U.S. And so that was fun piece. And then the results of this, actually, we've shared a number of different places, and the results have really exploded in terms of dissemination. So we've never really had this happen. I mean, neither Marilyn or I. So we started talking about this in a Women in Ag conference. We shared this with the Cattlemen's Association. They were very interested. All of a sudden, we worked with our university, and we did sort of a media blitz with the university
Mm-hmm.
that got picked up by a lot of farm organizations. Progressive Farmer, which is a network
Yeah.
that supports all sorts of magazines. RFD TV picked it up. It just got out to the nth degree, to the fact that we've actually seen about 2 weeks ago an entity that was global picked this up about our results from the sale barn, the social capital sale barn. So the tagline is beyond the auction, the social capital implications of the event. So that has just exploded on us, and that's so fun. Knowing that we picked up the idea in a conference in Australia and took it all the way to people in Nebraska and beyond. And one of the local pieces that really is exciting is that somebody heard about this work and they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure that they got the report because a group of individuals had just purchased a sale barn in a small community. And the one gentleman said, I want those people that invested in the sale barn to know that the sale barn is more than just an economic side to it. It also builds community, and it's also one of these rural third places that
Right.
helps create the glue of a community. So, I mean, that's fun. And that is
It
truly the
is. It's
spark
so much
that,
fun.
yeah, it is. It absolutely is fun. So, and it's really fun knowing that had we not been at that conference and heard that, we would have never, it would have never happened. So, yeah, that's the piece that really gets me excited.
So, from what you're saying, my major lesson is always be open and think outside the box and never kind of think that, like, not never maybe, but like always look at the opportunity in a situation because you never know what might, what something might lead to.
You have to be aware and I think be inquisitive
Hmm.
and think about, ooh, that sounds kind of fun. Could we do that? I mean, what would that look like? And then who would you work with? And always sort of putting together that package. I think your original question asked about what are professional impacts. And for me, the professional impacts are really helping people. Um, as well as making sure that there's something in there that helps Nebraska, something in there that helps Nebraska keep on that, making the good life even better. I know that there are certain things within the department and our institutional, like publications and grants and all sorts of things that you need to click off that are part of that professional piece
Uh-huh.
institutionally. But if you can marry that with just good work helping people and helping communities, then you got the best of both worlds.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Great. So my next question is, um, for, and I think you've touched upon this, for all of those students out there, who want to be in extension, because all the stuff that you're talking about, this is not something that we have classes on,
No,
courses on, you know, but there are positions out there in academia, in land grant universities, which are extension focused, extension heavy. So, what would you tell these students, who are getting trained in our ag econ programs and our applied econ programs and other programs? Is there a specific list of skills that they should work on? And it's kind of like, if that is not something I have, I probably should not go for a apply to an extension job. Do you have any guidance there?
if I guess if I were looking back
Uh-huh.
about how to sort of like groom myself for this position or for other extension positions, I would sure um, try to pick up that are interesting to me and for me that are also perhaps very human centric because I think working with people and learning how to do that is just incredibly important. The other thing that I would try to do is at least early in my career
Right.
and as even as a student try to work with people that are really well respected in their field and then just observe them and partner with them and do whatever I could to learn from them. And some of that is by by working with them. I mean, and seeing how they work and seeing how they react to things. I mean, I learned a lot from colleagues early in my career by just watching them interact with people in a community environment. So I think there's a lot to be said to uh, partnering with people and working in tandem with people because you pick up things, and I and you can't pick up those things in a book. So some of that, the human skill part, and being able to pivot in a community meeting or to work with people in a community meeting, um, that's a lifelong learning.
Mm-hmm.
And you continually get better over time. Am I there? No, I'm better than I was, but am I there? No, by no means. And so I'm always trying to get better in that as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that, if I might add, you brought in one thing about pivoting. So adaptability, a lot of, so personally for me, not teaching, but research is a lot about control. Being able to, of course, I don't know what my data will tell me, but I have some hypothesis, but I can control the process. What
Mhm.
you're saying is that that control might not be there, and you
Right.
have to be fine with that. You have to be fine with, making changes on the job, pivoting continuously, because there are lots of things that are outside of your control.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
right. And the other part is that, and quite a few speakers have told me this, is that to them, research is a solitary process, but extension is clearly not that. There are so many people involved and stakeholders involved. And if you want to be good at your job, you continuously have to, it's not solitary at all.
No, not you're absolutely right, for sure. But it also makes it quite exciting
Oh, yes.
when you are able to pivot or able to address needs in a different way. It keeps you very aware of your environment and the comments and even the personality of people, how you approach people. So all of that is a package. And then you use your knowledge base and kind of apply it on top of that.
Right, right. Well said. That's great. So then moving on to my next question, I'm always interested in learning about, learning tips and hacks from my colleagues. So do you have anything that you have learned? And you talked about this, but some tips, hack, or something that's like really helped you when, you needed something, or you were in a bind, or something like that, that you can share with us?
You know, I really try to surround myself with people that have maybe different skills than I do, and so that I can kind of learn from them. And sometimes um, it's just way easier to watch them work and then figure things out um, through their eyes. And so I'm always trying to work with people because that I like to work with, first of all,
Sure.
but then have different skills than I do so that I can learn even more. And whether it's on the technology side or maybe it's how to work a group of people and how to interact with them, I think to me those are learnings or they're sort of hacks a little bit, but it speeds up your ability to be better by observing. And then you've just really got to watch how they do things and watch the words that they use and their mannerisms and um, even how, not only on the extension side, how they work with the public, but also how they work with their administrators, their bosses. I mean, so there's a whole breadth, a buffet of things to kind of watch on the extension side because sometimes communicating what extension does can be a little tricky. And so you
Mhm.
have to be very keen on your communication to your administrators about what that looks like. And as well as to keep them informed because sometimes in extension you can be put in a uncomfortable situation. And if I can, for me, if I see that as maybe a little bit of a potential down the road, I will let my administrator know so that that person has my back because they don't like to get surprises, and I don't like surprises either. And so
Sure.
I kind of let them know they also can offer some incredible advice of what to watch for or how to function or maybe who needs to be kept in the loop, and that can be very valuable on the extension side. So to me, all of that is sort of that, things that you pick up over time that maybe you didn't know about early on. That's so very, very important in your professional life.
Absolutely. And it is more it is but natural that these are things that you are talking about are something that is only time plays a very big role here, because you have to have experience to be able to have all the exposure needed to come to be at the stage where you're at. But I think I really appreciate you sharing these things, because then young scholars, early career scholars, can kind of have a sense that, okay, this is what might be expected of me when I go into a job like this. Because I think that is some that would be very, very valuable information in my at least that's what I think. Like, if I wanted an extension focused job, it would be really beneficial for me to know that these are things that I should expect. This continuous working collaboratively, not only with colleagues but administrators as well as stakeholders, and that is a very, very different ball game than research and teaching. Although over there you have a different set of stakeholders, but probably something that we are more used to, more exposed to as we
Mm-hmm.
go to conferences and so on and so forth, right?
Right, right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep. So then, looking, into the future, in what ways do you think university extension may be different or will be different in the next 10, 15 years? And what do you think might drive the change?
So technology always plays a part of this.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and over time, things have changed and we change with it. And how we get information is different. So I think that'll always have a role to play. Um, the other piece is I tried to sit back and look at the broader scope of things. And I think um, the way we work in extension and the way we work with the universe at the university level, period, we work on a lot of collaborative projects. Um, and and to a certain degree, they are funded projects that
Right.
brings people together. I think that bringing people together on issues will happen more and more. What that the consequence of that might be is that through technology, individual states may not need expertise in particular areas. There might be more regional approaches or national approaches to things. That has pluses and minuses. The pluses is it has broader reach. The minuses is for the local people in states or regions, they may be more detached from the researcher or more detached from those the versus now where we have such a distributed extension system. Now on the ag side, that's a little bit different because our ag is location dependent,
Mm-hmm.
but because of agronomy and altitude and rainfall and all those sorts of things. But in community development and family science and consumer science and youth, that can be much more regional or it can have a different approach because it doesn't have that direct tie to the geography
Right.
like ag does. So I think that's an area where we'll see more of that.
Uh-huh.
And again, that collaboration and the grant funding and those bigger issue projects will kind of increase that or grease the wheels to make that happen more and more. So I think in that regard, you might see a kind of a shift of expertise or how that expertise is distributed. Um, but it's kind of a crap shot. I mean, crap game. I mean, we don't know exactly what that's going to all look like.
Yep. So you're kind of talking about things like regional hubs for
Mhm.
specific kinds of expertise to serve stakeholders.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see that happening very easily. I mean, funding wise,
yes.
and content expertise wise, and then how you distribute that out. Um, I mean, there's a lot of technology that can make that happen. Um,
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. You talked a little bit about this already, but looking back to your past work and interactions, if you could redo something, what would that be? Or you have no answer to that question, which would be awesome.
No, I actually do. So one of the things that I did not take advantage of is I never took a sabbatical. Okay.
Oh no!
And part of that was I had these two jobs and it was just super hard to leave the farm, you know? And so if I were to do it over again, I would think a little harder about that. And I wish somebody would have pushed me maybe a little more to do that. Because it's unless you have that push, it's pretty easy to just let it slide into the next year and the next year. And then you realize, well, I missed it. You know, I could have had that opportunity and I didn't. So that would be one piece of that that I wish somebody would have pushed a little bit more. But again, it was always trying to balance the farm and the extension life together, and there were some trade-offs I had to make. So
Oh, bummer.
yeah, I know. But on the plus side, Samanti, I fairly early on I realized that um, connecting to conferences that were kind of outside the north central area or even in other countries was a good thing. And so I made a special effort to save my dollars so that I could kind of go to a number of conferences in Canada. I've gone to some in Europe. I went to the one in Australia. So that to me, that fed that new idea part and those connections parts. So I got my my taste of that just in little bit, bits and pieces rather than in a chunk.
So my final question for you is, and again, if you have anything else to add to that, is what is something you wish someone had told you when you were starting out? Or you would tell a young professional now?
So what I'm going to say is that I'm going to actually flip that around just a little bit and say
Uh-huh.
one of the things someone did tell me early in my career is that I needed to be an expert in some area, just narrow focus area. And that to me was the best advice. And what I did is I grabbed that area of customer service and tourism. It matched our business as well. So I could, tell stories from our business and then the rural area. And so that worked really well. And having that narrow, deep focus in one or two areas was a real plus for me. The other thing that I would just encourage people to do is there will be times in your career where you will feel lost. Maybe you won't have a colleague or colleagues to work with, or maybe your uh, regional office has had substantial changes and you're wondering about your way, about finding what it is you need to do to be successful or feel good about yourself. And I would say that then at those times you really need to sort of think about what excites you, what really um, sort of gets you going in the morning. And so it might be working with somebody because you really enjoy that bantering back and forth and they bring out the best in you. It might be a content area where you really see all kinds of questions and research opportunities that just gets you excited in the morning. I mean, I don't know how to explain that excitement part other than you just keep asking questions and it's just like, I wonder if, and it just keeps you going. And so sometimes your outside environment or the environment around you might not be the best, um, but somehow you have to look inside you to figure out how can you find that peace, that excitement, that spark within you, and know that it fits for me, it fits my extension work. It also
Mhm.
fits my administrator goals, and it also makes sense for me in my Nebraska environment. And so when I can put that package together, I just go for it. And that's fun. And quite often, then once I get going on one of those little sparks, then other things just kind of fall away, and it just seems not so important because I'm so focused on that spark, on that excitement piece. So to me, just letting people know that there's going to be times you got to dig deep for and about you, so that it really pans out down the road.
I just thank you for sharing that. That's very inspiring. So on that very very high note, inspiring note, Cheryl, thank you so much for this great conversation. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure our audience will too.
Thank you very much for asking. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely great. Thank you so much.